Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're telling the story of AI, but not just the part you already know, with all the chatbots and image generators. We're going to cover the whole story, from its surprisingly simple beginnings all the way to where it's headed next.
For most of us, it feels like powerful AI just sort of popped up out of nowhere a couple of years ago. But its story, the real story, actually started way, way before we could ever have a conversation with it.
So let's really dive in and trace the full story of AI, from its early days when it was working quietly behind the scenes, all the way to the incredible tools that are literally reshaping our world today. Okay, let's wind the clock back a bit to around 2010. Long before AI was a household name, big companies, I'm talking giants like Netflix and Amazon, were already using a form of AI to run their businesses every single day. This early AI was basically a prediction machine. It was a master at it. It would just look at historical data, things like a customer's age, their income, what they've bought before, to predict a really simple one-word outcome. Are they going to buy this thing? Yes or no? That was it.
Right, so this is what we call classical machine learning. The key thing to remember here is that this AI wasn't creating anything. Not at all. It was just a really, really sophisticated pattern finder, just looking at the past to make a simple guess about the future.
So let's fast forward to around 2015. The ambition starts to grow. Scientists and engineers are thinking, okay, predicting yes or no is useful, but what if we could actually have a conversation with it? But man, there was a huge gap between that dream and the reality. Those early chatbots were, well, they were clumsy. They were simple, rule-based systems that just matched keywords. They couldn't understand the actual meaning, the semantics behind what we were saying. The dream, though, was to build an AI that could understand language just like a person. So the challenge was just absolutely massive. I mean, how could you possibly train a machine to understand language like a human? And how could you give it a big enough textbook to know about, well, everything? The only real option was the entire internet. But training an AI on that much data, that was a huge technical hurdle. Scientists were really struggling with this problem. And then, in 2017, the breakthrough moment happened. Researchers from Google published a paper called Attention is All You Need. And this paper gave AI a brand new way to process language. It allowed it to weigh the importance of different words and understand context like never before. This was the key that was about to unlock the entire next era of AI. Now, this paper didn't just improve the old AI, it created an entirely new category. It unlocked a capability that was just fundamentally different from everything that came before. This was the crucial leap. We went from a predictive AI that just gives a single pre-existing answer, like yes or no, to a generative AI, one that could create something completely new, like writing an original story from scratch. And that, right there, is the birth of generative AI. That's the technology that powers all the tools we know and use today, from ChatGPT to Claude. It doesn't just predict, it creates. But the story did not stop there. Oh no. After it was released to the public, this new generative AI got some absolutely game-changing upgrades that took it to a whole other level. So it helps to think of the technology behind these new AIs, they're called large language models, or LLMs, as these incredibly powerful artificial brains. They're trained on unbelievable amounts of text, which lets them understand language, process information, and even reason. But here's the thing. A brain, no matter how smart it is kind of limited if it can't interact with the world, right? It can think about booking a flight, but it can't actually do it. So, developers gave this AI brain tool access, and you can just think of these as digital hands. It gave the AI the ability to actually use other apps, to search the web, to book that flight, or interact with just about any piece of software. And this led to two key upgrades. First was reasoning. The AI could now think and create a plan. And second was tool use. It was given hands to turn that plan into real-world action. And when you combine a thinking brain with hands that can actually act, you get something new and incredibly powerful, an AI agent. This is a system that can understand a goal, create a plan, and then execute that plan all on its own. And this whole concept of agents, well, that brings us right to the cutting edge of what is happening in AI today. This is not science fiction anymore. This is what the industry is building right now.
The very next step is building multi-agent systems. So imagine not just one AI agent, but entire teams of them, each with a special skill, all collaborating together. You could have a researcher agent, a coder agent, and a project manager agent. You just give them a complex goal, and they work together, on their own, to achieve it.
So this leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. We already know how powerful a single AI assistant can be. So what happens when entire teams of autonomous AI agents can work together 24/7 to solve our most complex problems? That is the future we're stepping into right now.